Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace. How are you doing? Hello. Thank you. Hello, Deborah. Welcome. Oh, we haven't had you in a while. Hello, Reilly and Rowena, and hello to our very special guest. Hello to our very special guest, Miss Wynne Thornley from the Dark Side of Lightwork podcast. Yay! I got it right. I'm so excited. I practiced it a lot. You know, Wynne doesn't get to see the unedited version of how many times I messed that up in our previous shows because I would always just switch them around, which is interesting for someone who does not have a diagnosis of dyslexia. You know, I would just always say it the wrong way. So forgive me if I do later on. Hello, Peter. Welcome, everybody. Billy Dees is also here. So happy to have you all. This show is really about setting your intentions for the week and planning so that we are not just floating around and, you know, driving at life aimlessly like zombies, right? When there is a level of awareness, there's a level of control or the illusion thereof, right? That's hope comes into play when control has to really be thrown out the window because life happens, right? So I want to just bring a little bit of awareness to all of it. And as you know, it's the new moon tomorrow, peaking at 6:42 in the morning, and this is why we are here tonight, to celebrate and to do it all. As you know, this show, we tend to have a conversation about where we are and what we're trying to bring into the week. The energy that you bring to your Monday is key to the rest of the week. It ripples, right? So if you started your Monday moody, tired, hungover, not well rested, not very, recharged, then you might just drag your feet all week long. But if you were strategic, key word, right? If you were strategic about how you spent your weekend, then your Monday and the rest of your week just becomes a little bit more at ease and you have things under control. So that's one of the things we do. And then because it is the new moon episode, we're also going to journal and paint. And this was the painting we did last time. Look at that. We went to the fire for the full moon and we got to burn and watch as they sizzled all of the insecurities that are getting in the way. So there's the full moon there, and not because I tried, just because it happened. Look at all the wishing stars I got on that one. So that's pretty cool. And as you know, we paint on every full moon and every new moon episode. So here we are, blank page. We will journal and paint together. So I'm hoping that Rowena has her things ready. She had all her pencils and everything ready last time, and she's joining us from Australia. So good morning to you, Rowena. It's already Tuesday over there. So the new moon is going to be peaking in the evening of Tuesday for her, which will be around 8:40 something tonight, tomorrow night for us. You all know what I mean. And so before we get to my beautiful guest, Wynne Thornley, and to hear from her and everything she does, I would like to give you just a quick rundown of what's happening this week. As you know, I'm not an astrologer, so we're not going to get into the astrology of it all, but I do love the moon, and I research about this kind of stuff, right? And so tomorrow's new moon is happening in Scorpio. Scorpio is a water sign. Scorpio is also about, very deep emotional, I would say stamina, but just emotional intelligence, emotional drama, lack thereof, just very emo in general, very spicy, sentimental, if you will. So when you add, that to the new moon, which is the dark side of the moon, now it becomes, the deep, dark corners of your identity and of your journey. And when you add to that a partial solar eclipse also happening tomorrow around the same window of time as the new moon, you add kind of like an explosion, an explosion of depth of feeling energy. So if you've been crying and you don't know what's up, or if you've been really touchy around childhood memories, old upbringing wounds that are still not resolved, or old dreams that you had, goals that you had already given up on, and now they're coming back to the surface. This is what this energy does. It goes deep into the well of your existence, and it, imagine a Scorpio like just rummaging around all the rubble. And so that's what this energy does, along with the eclipse. And then we're gonna have, and then we're gonna have another eclipse on November 8th. So later on, when we start that cycle with the new moon starts the cycle, the full moon ends it. So when the full moon comes, the first or second week of November, we're gonna have another eclipse, and we'll talk all about that. But after the moon is in Scorpio, which I just said what the energy was, it's going to be in Sagittarius. And all these zodiac signs have a symbol to them, right? Like the Taurus is the little bull and the Pisces is like the curvy one. Well, Sagittarius is an arrow. And so when the moon is in Sagittarius, you get to be very direct. And so what happens when the moon is in Sagittarius may be a few very cut and dry comments that are kind of direct. Like, have you ever had an interaction where you look at someone and it's like, what is up with you? You're like very direct today, unforgiving. Like, you're just very, very straight to the point. That's Sagittarius energy. So that's going to be happening later this week around Wednesday and Thursday. And then it's going to move into Capricorn. And Capricorn is all about, wanting to be useful, which is a little bit hard with what's going on in the world. Like, how can I be useful with what's going on in Iran? We've talked about this, right? Especially for empaths, the tragedies that are going on the other side of the world. What can I do to support that or to be of use to the society in this moment, to my collective? Well, there's only so much I can do. I can donate. I can make a post about it. I can put a link somewhere so that people donate, right? You could shave your head if that's what you're into, right? A lot of women are actually doing that because they feel so connected to the collective struggle of what's going on in Iran that they're shaving their heads and cutting their hair because this, is a symbol of support in what's going on. So all of that may be coming to the surface as well later this week when the moon is in Capricorn. And that's it. That's your moon cast for the week. Yay! We can all go home now. No, I'm just kidding. So let's take a look at our beautiful guest. Yes, Rowena has her books and pencils ready. I'm so happy. So welcome, Wynne. Would you like to be on video? Let's see. I think you have to, invite to video. Okay, here we go. So everybody, yes, everybody, please help me in welcoming Wynne Thornley. Thank you. Hello. She is the hostess of the Dark Side of Lightwork podcast and one of the top mentors on the Wisdom app, which is where we met. And you've heard me talk about her before because of her sultry voice. This is how I always describe you, Wynne. And so everybody, peel your ears and just pay attention. And her work is just amazing. And I love your podcast because of the concept of it all and what you do. So tell us about you, where you're coming from. Not coming from, tuning in from. There you go. And about all the things. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. I love this already. I really enjoyed your Mooncast. I think I can feel into all of those feels that have been happening through October period. So
Mm,
it's kind of nice how the year is finishing off with the coming into your passion being direct and also being direct emotionally. So I love that. Thank you.
mhm.
So I'm tuning in from central Alberta in Canada. I'm in a little rural community known as Eagle Valley. There's only about 250 families who live on this acreage community, so it's a very
Wow.
peaceful spot to be. I get to be surrounded by nature all day long and get inspired and hermit a little bit much, but I really do enjoy it all the same because I'm very empathic. So I need that downtime away from the collective so that I
That's right.
can recharge so I can give back even more.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, I love your posts every single time. I feel the same. We don't live in such a rural or, disconnected area, but I do appreciate the access to nature. It's so important. And to empaths as well. I've been posting a lot about this too, because we really do need to do our best. And so nature becomes a key element, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, empaths thrive in energy, and nature is full of those raw elements that allow us to shift, change, heal, shed, recharge, depending on which you're leaning most into, whether it be earth, air, water, fire, or spirit. So, if you are sensitive out there, please do yourself a favor and carve out time so that you can get into nature no matter where you're at. It's really nice that there's been a lot of initiatives in the cities to create nature spots within the middle of the city or along riverbanks or however it goes. So, there's always somewhere to find where you can unplug for a bit in nature. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
Hmm.
Sonia is like, yay, we love nature. So
Yeah.
tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast is called The Dark Side of Lightwork, and thank you. I know that I sit there and I also pronounce your name behind the scenes because I'm like, I want to get it right one day, but I'll still stick with Grace because.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fine.
so The Dark Side of Lightwork, it began as an idea for me to start to talk about some of the stuff that's considered taboo in my industry. I'm very much a light worker, but I'm a light worker who also plays in the dark quite often. And I'm not afraid of it because, again, I kind of like how Bob Ross gave that analogy of you can't see the light without the dark. And the more I learn about light work and about the supernatural and paranormal as well, because that's something that I've been probably researching most of my life because it helped me explain things that were happening to me as a kid. But the more I got into professional studies, working deeper in energy, working deeper in the paranormal realm, I started to realize there was a lot of fallacies told within my industry, a lot of old stories, a lot of superstitious ways of thinking that I've just carried forward, carried forward, carried forward without anybody questioning these things.
Right.
And so the dark side of light work evolved into an area where I like to take the Hollywood out of the paranormal and supernatural and metaphysics and tell the truth a little bit about what's going on in these places. I mean, really, when we look at hauntings, it's very rare for an actual factual haunting to happen, but yet all of these stories of haunted houses, all of these stories of haunted buildings, when there's a lot more going on there, especially when
Hmm.
you're trying to harmonize human existence within a certain area of land that has maybe resisted that. And then we're going to have all these things happen. So the goal of the Dark Side of Light work is to take popular stories and some that are a little lesser known in the world of the supernatural and paranormal and kind of demystify what's going on, tell what's been told all over the internet and in the movies and in Hollywood and in TV and say, but this is really what's going on from an educated point of view, right? So that's kind of what I'm trying to attempt to do with the Dark Side of Light work. And it's a place I like to play. It's a place where people, um, they don't know where to start looking for information on this. So I like to curate all that information, bring it all together, but then still say, but what do you think?
Hmm.
Because paranormal, supernatural, energy work, it's all very, very subjective, but we're all experiencing something. So I want to shift the perspective a little bit.
Hmm. Absolutely, yes. And I love, um, let me tell all of you, and her link is in the fortune cookie along with mine. One of the things that I appreciate about Wen is how much preparation and her own love and energy she brings into every episode. So we have had conversations where she's telling me about, all of the research that she's doing on her own time just before she puts an episode together. And that's definitely the kind of podcast I want to listen to, right? It's not just, put two and two together with something I found on the internet or a book or whatever, but deep research that really just sheds light. Because I feel like the thing about the occult, which I wanted to have this conversation on the new moon because it's the dark side of the moon, right? Yes. See how I put those two together? But the thing about the occult is that there's a lot of just verbal histories that, and as you know, with the game of telephone, by the end of it, it's not what it was in the beginning at all. And so when you add to it your in-depth research, you just shed light into so many things that it's like, oh, this is not as bad or as haunted as I thought it was. Or this is not as spooky, right? Like spooky, scary, or this actually resonates in a way because we all have a dark side. We all have a shadow. There's all these connections that we can make, and not to mention the fact that occult only applies to something that is never spoken of or never given the light of day or the time of day. So is it occult forever? I don't believe so, right? I feel like we're shedding light on so many things as a society. Look at all these happenings going on around the world, which are quite scary and a nightmare in itself.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot about what's happened in the past couple of years. I think a lot about it, and I find it's interesting because so much has been revealed about ourselves when we've been all forced to hermit. When we have distractions everywhere, it's really hard to sit down and get silent and go inside. And when we're thinking about occult studies, that's a really good way to describe it. How you said earlier, it's all passed down word of mouth, word of mouth, word of mouth, because heaven forbid we write it down and create structure around it. Right?
Right.
Heaven forbid we do that. And really, the only thing occult really means is just hidden knowledge. That's all it really means.
Right.
And so in the past 2 years, it seems like 2.5, I guess almost 3 years now, our collective has been forced to look at things from a different perspective, and we were forced to get uncomfortable. And what is more uncomfortable than shadow work? I mean, we're staring deep into these parts of ourselves that we've been told are unlovable, that we've told ourselves are unlovable, and then we're meant to accept it. And I think that the reason why fear stays so deeply into things like when we think paranormal, it just means it's not normal. It means it's unusual. It doesn't mean that it's always scary. But there's this framework that's been put around the occult, the paranormal, the superstitious, and superstition, supernatural, that is supposed to be scary and frightening. Because at one time they didn't have, us as a collective didn't have a way to explain what we were experiencing.
Right.
But we're in the year 2022 now. There's a lot of resources to look back on. I think that's why I researched so deeply, because I noticed on the internet, things just seem to be regurgitated. And maybe somebody finessed it with a copywriter, but it's regurgitated information. And I wonder how much further did they go in research? I mean, I dig up books. I dig up old movies. There's a lot of stuff from the 70s that was filmed that you can now find on YouTube. And I think it's so important to go within. And I think maybe that's why it's been so challenging over the past couple of years with our collective, because we've been told to go in. What doesn't feel right? What are you sensing as the truth? Mm-hmm. And that can be very uncomfortable, and then it causes unrest. And so now we're seeing the result of all of this pent-up energy now exploding all over the place, and perfect timing for where we're at in our moon cycles right now, isn't it? It's almost like you can't make it up, right?
That's right. I know. It's once you start paying attention, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. It's kind of hard to keep calling it unbelievable, right?
Right?
Because it's almost believable, right? But you go one step further into your research, and I want you to tell all of us about this, which is your haunted field trips. Everybody,
Mm.
she hosts a group of people on an actual physical trip to locations where they get to experience all of it. So tell us about that.
Oh, so I sat on this idea since, I was hitting the third eye with it in 2020. And and it was October 2020. I remember it very clearly. And I was like, wow, but you got to pause, was the first thing I was told. So I got to sit for a good year and a half planning and letting it percolate. And what was my intention with these haunted field trips? So I have become, I don't know if it's surly towards my industry, but when I'm looking at ghost hunting shows on TV and in the movies, this is where a lot of people learn about this stuff, right?
Right, sensationalism.
That's right. When really, I've done home business and land curings for almost 10 years. And it is, from a medium's perspective, we don't go about spirit in that way at all. And the one thing that I found really disappointing within my industry is a lot of paranormal investigators, they have absolutely no education on energy. They're just starting to learn about how earth energies work with human energies, if they know much about it at all. They go in there with a bunch of equipment, and I get it because they're going about it from a scientific point of view. They're going in to disprove anything is going on. But when you're dealing with energy and spirit, it doesn't really work that way. So as I was right, so as I was cooking on this idea of doing haunted field trips, I wanted to take people to places that scare them. But my intention was for one to take the fear out of it.
Mhm.
And I also thought there's just not enough training for mediums in the wild, right? Like we have these courses online, we take courses in these weekend workshops, we learn the basis of channeling, and then we're told, go do it on your own. So I really wanted to create an experience that was ghost hunting from a medium's perspective, because mediums pick up on, or any type of channeling work you do, or expanding your intuition. I want people to learn how to diagnose what they're feeling. A lot of things make us feel uneasy. Ley lines, for example, make us feel really uneasy, especially if they're confined to a small space in our home.
Mhm.
Electromagnetic frequencies, or EMFs, they make us feel uneasy. But when you learn to tap into your senses and ask different questions in the space that you're in, then you start to get more information about what's really happening around you, why you really feel uneasy or scared or a little bit nervous. So I wanted to create these haunted field trips to say, for one, it's not scary, it's just energy. And what are you really picking up on? Not to say that we don't pick up on memories from the past that were left as a smudge behind in certain places like Frank Slide. Frank Slide, Alberta is the site of the second worst landslide in Canadian history. And it
Mhm.
took out half of a town of Frank. It was a Turtle Mountain that gave away and basically took out a mining town that was not a whole town, it was only about half of it, back in the early 1900s. But I mean, there was already warnings with this mountain. I mean, the indigenous called it the mountain that moves. And they said we would
Mhm.
never settle at the base of this mountain. Yet you got settlers coming in, right, mining coal
Right.
from this mountain. So anyway, all of this this landslide came through, and when you go through Frank's Slide, all of the debris is still there. They've just basically cut a highway through it. They have an interpretive center. But when you go through it, it's like the loudest, quietest place you can go through. And a lot of people are like,
Mhm.
oh, it's haunted. We see people running across the rocks and this and that. So I thought, what a fun place to try to explore the energy, right? What's really
What a
going
fun
on,
place. That's right.
right? And then, I mean, polar opposite, I took a group of people to, it's known as a paranormal hotspot in Alberta, known as the Banff Springs Hotel, which is a world famous hotel. It's known as the Castle in the Rockies. It was also built, I believe it started its construction phase in the 1880s, late 1880s. But when you walk through there, like it gives you the willies, you know?
Mhm.
It's made out of stone. And I mean, there was so much energy within that place. It was hard to decipher everything that was going on. But to bring some folks there, we really took the fear out of the castle in the Rockies, but we also demystified many stories that are told about this haunted hotel far and wide that are actually not true at all. So we got to talk about the haunted history, fact, and fiction, which then helped them diagnose what was going on around them a little bit easier instead of falling into a trap of the collective story, which is
Right.
sometimes very different to the truth that's going on there. So my idea behind it was, for one, take fear out. Show them it's just energy. The people who are more in tune with their psychic gifts, I want to be able to demystify what's going on, give education to help them diagnose what's going on around them. And I mean, I expected these to be fun weekends away. Let's go do something fun in a place that's supposed to be spooky. But what they turned into are these deeply healing events where people are going in unsure what's going to happen, and they leave so confidently stepping into their psychic senses that they can take the information that we went over in that weekend and take it and apply it to a lifestyle. Because again, before we even go to this haunted field trip, there's already homework. I'm already passing out homework. I'm like, you work on your psychic senses before we show up.
Right.
Get ready. This is a field trip, right? We're in the field. So I take it a little bit seriously, where I feel like the ghost hunting shows and some people who are in the industry say, oh, like, ghost walking tours, they don't take it seriously. And it's a very serious thing for me, because these areas in our world have so much to share with us about an inkier side of our history, a darker side. And I feel like they have something to show us. So let's go see, let's take it seriously. It's not about bringing in beepers and boopers, and it's not about retelling an old story. It's go and feel into it yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's so good. So good. I'm going to clap for you for a second. Hang on. Right there. Yay. Because, and this takes me, how do I get out of here now? Okay. This can go from anywhere from actual, locations that have a name to them, to your own backyard and the people that may have lived there before there was ever a structure, right? And so this is one of the things that interest me about just this conversation in general. And it's like, this is, this land is my land, right? Is that the song? This land belonged to other people before us. So as empaths, sometimes we really cannot narrow down the way that we feel about a place or about where we live or whatnot. And it was actually someone on the Wisdom app that asked me about who owned this house before we moved into it, and who owned it before that, and who owned it before that. And we don't ask those questions, right? In the field of real estate, for example, which is where we come from. And people just, I like the house, so I'm moving into it. But there's all these other things and aspects to our experience, or to our reality, if you will, that we, I just love that we're getting to talk more about these things. And by we, I mean me and you and whoever joins us. Yeah. So I'm very, very happy and thankful that you joined us, Wynne. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for asking me to be here. It's always nice to share space with you. So
of course,
it's always an honor.
Yes. And will you be staying around for our Mindfulness new moon event now?
I'm going to try to stay around as long as I can. So as soon as my
house
starts to get noisy, I got to get back to my number one role of being a trophy wife and mother. Right? So.
Absolutely. So everybody, please give her a hand. Yes, thank you so much. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off. Yes, of course. All right, everybody. So please check out her link and, of course, follow her podcast on Spotify. So let's get to the new moon. Considering the dark side, considering the in-depth well of your being and everything that's ruminating inside that you may feel a little bit hesitant to explore, right? What are some of those things that you have been pondering? And the new moon, as you know, because you've joined us before, we tend to plant seeds on the new moon and then release blockages in the full moon. So how do we apply the planting seeds context to the ruminating of the dark side of our experience or the dark side of our past? So I have a few promptings for you to take a look at or to ponder, which is, I want to plant the intention of really looking at this that's bubbling up with compassion and patience. I want to plant the seed of intentions of, facing what's coming up with courage and with faith that I'm going to make it at the end of the day, or faith that I am going to figure it out, or faith that it's going to be okay no matter what, right? When it's about deep, dark insecurities or things that are just really overwhelming, we want to approach it with kindness. And we tend to offer these things so freely to everyone else, but not so much ourselves. When it comes to us crying, we tend to say things like, stop crying, stop being a big baby. We say that to our children as well, which is a problem, right? We tend to just not be as patient with ourselves as we are with other people. When it comes to someone else struggling, we're always like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. What can I do for you? But do we ever ask ourselves, what can I do for myself today? And so that's where planting seeds of compassion, self-compassion, patience, self-kindness comes into play when dealing with some of these things. What have you been really nagging yourself about in a negative way? I don't do enough. I'm wasting my time. I've invested this much money on this, and that was a stupid investment. Like, you know what you have been, ruminating on and what you have been struggling with. And so this new moon plus the partial solar eclipse is really pointing towards a solid transformation. And the thing about eclipses is that it's a whole season of eclipses that tends to be like a 6-month bookmark. So I'm not saying that you're a caterpillar tonight and tomorrow during the solar eclipse you're going to transform into a butterfly. This is a whole season. And the thing about entering this type of season or this type of dialogue is that now you're aware. And the goal is that when you get in tune with the season, as opposed to working against it, you transform for the better. You grow. We've talked about that stiff neck mindset versus the growth mindset, right? So you do want to be able to go from a caterpillar to a butterfly that expands and opens up, right? And is beautiful and magnificent, as opposed to what, right? Just staying a caterpillar, that would be it, right? And so this is what the eclipse is going to bring us. And if you've been very sentimental about certain things in your past experience, this is why. So this would be the time to come up on the stage if you would like to share. If not, we're going to go straight into journaling, but I do want to give everyone the chance. Hello, Brian. Welcome, welcome. I'm so happy that you're here. So I wonder if Rowena would like to come. I have a request here. I'm not sure if... Hi, Rowena. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Graciela. How are you?
I'm doing so good. How are you enjoying the show? Isn't Wynne wonderful?
Oh, Wynne was very interesting. I'm really looking forward to listening to her podcast, actually. I've
Awesome.
flagged it.
Great, great. Thank you so much. So we're here. We're planting seeds. What seeds are we planting for you today?
Ooh. Um, so there's the run over. I literally, just before the show, got a call about a job interview. So that's coming. It's happening. It's happening. Very exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes. So we're planting
Yay.
seeds of job offers now.
Yep. Job offers and yeah, abundant contracts.
That's right.
Um, yeah. And the other thing, like, this is like I think I was talking about in the last session, like, this has been a really challenging last few weeks. This energy I've been really sitting with, and it's been hard. Like, I've really felt all the feelings. It was such a good reminder from Wynne, actually, to go spend some time in nature because of being very empathetic myself, I pick up on a lot of those vibes. So, good reminder to go out and spend some time in nature and reconnect with that peacefulness. So that'll be also on the cards.
Absolutely. And, in the end, we all want to have a great week. We don't want to just purposely do anything that works against us. So those intentions are very important. And I'm so happy that you've joined us and that you have the wheel turning, because a few weeks ago we were talking about just sending out feelers and you did. And now you have an interview. So I'm very happy, Rowena.
It's so exciting. I was really worried there. There was like radio silence. And then I'm like, no, just be patient. And then the ball is happening. It's all starting to roll this week. So it's really great.
Oh, I love that. And you bring a very specific point that I was just discussing in an earlier conversation about manifestation, which is you can't just put that desire or that intention out there and expect it the next day. That's just not how it happens, right? We are so used to the immediacy of it all. Generationally speaking, look at us right now, talking together, and you're on the other side of the planet, right? And living in our future. And we no longer wait for pictures. We have them at the touch of a button. So immediacy is the order of the day, but that's not how nature's clock works, or how the universe clock works. We still get 365 days in the year, and we still have a lifespan. So thank you. So when we put our desires out there, or our manifestations, or even our prayers, we really cannot expect them the next day. That's kind of a self-sabotaging type of energy, because then when it doesn't come true in the next day or the next whatever, you know what I mean, like quickly enough, then we get mad and that's negative energy, or we get resentful. And that's negative energy, right? And we don't want to be dwelling in any type of negative energy, right? As you know, I'm very big on peace and stillness and love, love, love. These are the things that move the wheel forward. So I'm very glad that you allowed yourself the patience to just wait for to see what unfolded. And now here we are.
Yeah, it's so great. So great.
Yay.
Thanks.
Of course. Thank you so much. So now we have Brian. Hello, Brian. So happy that you're here. Welcome.
Hi, Graciela. How are you?
I'm so glad to see you here, and very grateful.
Yeah, I literally just popped in, so I don't really know what you were talking about. I do see that Wynne is a guest on your show tonight. Um, yeah, I haven't been here much the last several times that you've done your show, but
Yeah, it's the good thing about this is that we always talk about the same, right? That's what the beauty of having a theme is all about. So you haven't missed much, because it's still the same even if you missed it. We're talking about our week and how we want to approach it, what we want to bring to it. And of course, because it is the new moon, we're talking about specific seeds that we want to plant. So are there any intentions that you would like me to put down on the journal for you? And then we're going to paint all over it.
okay. Yeah, so I would say that the seeds that I would like to plant are being able to better plan out things that I need to or want to do, whether it's an activity or reading something along those lines, because I am not always the best at planning things out, and sometimes it can be a little difficult to get motivated to get somewhere. Although I managed to do it, but uh, just with a little bit more planned efficiency of being able to have a clearer picture a little bit sooner, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I love how you worded that. Have a clear picture a little bit sooner. I definitely appreciate that. As you know, I'm a big planner, and having an actual planner is one of my very own projects that I am praying and hoping and putting all of my efforts into manifesting. So I'm very glad that you're here. And you bring a miracle to the table, which is an instant manifestation, because I'm going to email you the time block sheet that I used to time block my day. And there you go. Your manifestation is already answered. You're welcome. I'm so happy that you're here, Brian. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. So, Peter, would you like to come up and speak? And if not, we're going to go ahead and paint all over this. So we have, abundant contracts, right? Yes, we want not just any job offer. See, we were also talking about specificity in a previous conversation that I was having earlier. You can't just really say, oh, I want to manifest a lover, for example, because any person will come into your experience, fall in love with you, and that counts as a lover, but you don't really gel or you don't really like them. So when it comes to manifesting or even praying, you want to be specific. So if you need an amount of money and you're pondering what you need to be able to get what you want to get, or to donate what you want to donate, or to do what you want to do, think about a specific amount. Don't just think, oh, I want money. I need to pay my bills. There's a lot of icky energy in paying bills, so we shouldn't even be bringing that up, right? Like, everybody needs money. Let's get real, right? Yeah, discernment and values aligned. Thank you, Rowena, for reminding us of that. Everything needs to be aligned with what you value, and just bring everything into alignment so that there's even more power to it, right? It's like the line of the horizon, or the path that you're going through. Like, there's a lot of lines in the universe in general, right? Like the path the planets are going through, right? I call them lanes. I know they're not called lanes, but you know what I mean. And so when it comes to a straight line or alignment, I feel like there's a lot of energy there, a lot of power there. So you want to be able to have your ducks in a row. So just be specific. Don't just think about things in the general sense. Just niche them down to exactly what you need when you're pondering these things. So it's great, because an example of that would be when I said that we were going to plant seeds of job offers, right, for Rowena, but then she mentioned abundant contracts. So she narrowed it down to an actual thing that she wants. And then, we talked about self-compassion. We talked about patience and kindness. We always want to plant those seeds, especially if you're a trauma survivor and you struggle with that negative self-talk, or you struggle with just toxicity in general, right? Those patterns of upbringing that we're trying to break as a generational healing because we want to do things differently for our children. Well, sometimes they come up and I feel it. Right? And I open my mouth to speak, and it's like, is this really me? Or is this how I grew up? And I check myself, right? So this is why we're always going to talk about kindness, compassion, patience, because these are the things that we just need to keep planting and nurturing, right? You don't just put a seed on the ground and then leave it. You nurture it. You take care of it. Wynne has an amazing video on her socials, I think on Instagram, where she is giving Reiki to her garden because there was a storm the night before and she thought the garden was done for. And guess what? After that Reiki session that she recorded for all of us, the garden was thriving and it was so beautiful to see. And that's when I said, I want you on my show because you're so awesome. But thank you again. Thank you for being here. So let's go ahead and paint this And Wynne, before you leave, would you like to tell us about the garden while I paint this? If you do, you can come up really quick. I'm going to invite you to speak again, and you can tell us about it.
Yeah, my garden ended up working out really well this year. We had 3 big hailstorms right in a row, and we had planted rows of potatoes and onions and carrots, which were all fine because they're all root vegetables. But it was our beans and our peas and tomatoes that really, really took a hit. And so it was interesting that you bring up that video, because I almost didn't film it. It's one of these things where you feel a little bit weird, but Spirit was like, film it. Not enough people are seeing what can really be done with Reiki. And so I spent a lot of time in that session. I put the camera on, didn't really care how it turned out, because I was more about giving some love and support to my garden, strengthening the roots, strengthening all of the leaves and connective parts so that it could grow. And I ended up getting, by the end of the season, 3 pickings off of those bean plants that weren't even supposed to survive. We did get 1 harvest off of the pea plants that barely grew like 2 feet, but we harvested 1.5 times off them. Our tomatoes went crazy. And I mean, even our abundance within our potatoes and carrots and onions were also shown. So I really enjoyed, I do it often. I videoed the one time, but every time I'm pulling weeds, I'm offering Reiki. Every time I'm disrupting my garden to make it better, I also give it love and say, this is for your greater good. When I'm trimming my tomato plants, I say, but this because I love you and it's not to harm you, and give them a little extra Reiki so they can heal a little
That's so
bit faster.
empath. That's so empath. You're like, this is for your own good. I love you so much, but let me pull on you. Oh, I love it. Yes.
So yeah, it was great. And my garden really showed the signs of receiving that love, of the extra boost of energy. And yeah, I can't wait to have more of a structured plan with my garden next year.
I love that. And thank you so much for recording it, because, it's, I remember we spoke about it during the week off, and it's the kind of video that, always kind of calls for negative energy and for naysayers and whatnot. But at the same time, there's opposition in all things. And in all honesty, I feel like sometimes that negative energy is a confirmation that you're doing something right. I don't know if you see it that way.
Yes, I do, because I was like, wow, I haven't gotten so much negativity on such a benign post. Like this wasn't supposed to reach anybody, and then all of a sudden it's reached thousands of people, and I've got negative comments.
right.
I'm like, whoa, I must be doing something right.
Right. And not to mention that a negative comment, it counts towards your engagement. So it's like, well, thanks for being here and stopping by and leaving a comment, right? They may have even shared it because they're in such disbelief that they're like, take a look at this. So you just never know what a hater is going to turn out to be. They might turn out to be your biggest supporter. But yeah, it was a beautiful post, and I want to thank you for sharing it, because sometimes we get in the way of our productivity and of our, manifestations with that dark insecurity that just creeps in. And this is where what I am painting comes into play, because I feel like the underlying energy of this new moon, along with this eclipse and what it means for us, the underlying energy is for us to trust. The process. When there's no trust, there's that resentment, right? And there's that impatience. Bringing it back to Rowena, who's been sharing for a few weeks, so we get to experience her journey. Yay, trust.
Nice.
When there's no trust, then there's that icky energy. We were also discussing it in a previous conversation where we're talking about monetizing content, and it's like there was an energy of skepticism in the same sentence as manifesting, and I'm like, well, you can't really manifest if you're bringing skepticism to the mix, that's a contradiction. It's like, well, I'm gonna do the exercise, but I don't really believe it. You need to be open and just fake it till you make it, and be positive about the outcome, and be open to receive, for however long it takes for it to get here. I'm just going to be positive about it because I really believe in what I'm trying to create. So if you're being skeptical, that just doesn't work. And
And if you're putting conditions around how it should be received, because we don't know the final design, we just know the action steps. So, not hanging on to it too tightly and dropping your expectations of how it's supposed to arrive also is so important. But that skepticism, it's like, you deserve it. So ask for it, claim it. You deserve it.
Right. Exactly. Right? Absolutely. So thank you so much, Wynne. Get comfortable. We're going to do a short meditation. And thank you again for being here. I love you. Absolutely. Bye. Yes. All right, everybody. So let's get comfortable and do this meditation. So grateful that you're all here. As you know, and welcome, Ray. Thank you for joining us. You're right on time for this meditation. And look at us having an interview, doing the journaling, doing the painting, and doing a meditation all under 1 hour. I'm just so proud of this crew. Let me tell you, we are working strides here. Oh, this is upside down. Okay. So, as you know, music is brought to you by Brain FM. All of the links are in my fortune cookie. We're going to move this trust over here. Remember to trust the process. This is the hardest thing. It's already October, New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is only 10 weeks away, and for some of us, trust was one of the words of the year. So where are you in the journey of trusting the process? Where are you in the journey of trusting yourself and your decision making? Where are you in the process of trusting your relationships? And that's not just about relationships with people, but your relationship to your spirituality, your relationship to food, your relationship to your work. Where are you in trusting those aspects of your experience? Because aligning all of it is the goal if you want peace and happiness and to just flow, right? If you want to get to that flow, that is the key. So we're going to go ahead and meditate. So please get comfortable. Feet on the floor. And we are going to the beach because we are tiny little scorpions just walking around. Focus on your normal, steady, soft breathing. And follow my lead as I guide you to some breath work and a few affirmations for this new moon and partial solar eclipse. Nice and steady now. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do. Just be here now. So with me, take a deep breath in through your nose. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. We're not in a hurry. Fill your lungs all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it go through your mouth. Nice and slow. All the way till you have no air. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in again. Nice and slow, deep breath in, slow, slow, slow. Fill your lungs all the way. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it go. And as you let it go, ponder this dark night. You're sitting on the sand, the waves across from you, and the sky is bright with so many stars, all visible because there's no moon. And you can see all of them. Every single one, so tiny, like a little poppy seed in your hand. And as you ponder the waves that come and go, much like our energy, much like people and jobs and dreams and efforts, they all just come and go. You look up at the sky, and as you look up at the starry sky, you dig your hands into the sand. Millions and millions and millions of tiny grains of sand between your fingers. And up above, so many stars. An infinite amount of possibilities. As above, so below. And you ponder all the efforts, every single thing you're trying to structure in your life. Everything you're consciously making time for because you're committed, because you're inspired, because you've been called to do it. All of it right in front of you and right in between your fingers. With me, take a deep breath in, deep, 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 nice and slow, not in a hurry, just deep breath in, fill your lungs all the way. Hold it at the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, let it go, nice and slow through your mouth. Long breath out all the way. Hold it again, 1, 2, 3, 4, and breathe in again. Deep, deep, deep breath in, all the way. Hold it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it go. And as you let it go, you ponder all of these infinite reasons, intentions, excuses, and you settle in your heart to really face each one and figure it out. So you can open your mind for more creative energy, more ideas, different opportunities. You dig out your hands from the sand and you brush the sand away. Bring your hand to your heart. And remember, in this moment, in this darkness, I am so loved and protected. I am guided through the darkness, and I know that I have the power to shed light on all of it. I am so grateful for infinite blessings, and I trust that this process of transformation is for my own good and for the good of all. With me, take a deep breath in one last time. Deep, deep, deep. Nice and slow. Deep breath in. Hold it at the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it go. Nice and slow. All the way till you have no air. Hold it again. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe in one last time. Deep breath in. Deep, 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 deep. Fill those lungs. Hold it 1, 2, 3, 4, and let it go. And as you let it go, bring your awareness to your feet. Wiggle your toes. Slowly open your eyes and come back to me. And I am so, so grateful that you have joined us for episode 15. Thank you, Rowena. Thank you for the love. I want to thank the viewers on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and the listeners on Spotify. Thank you so much for tuning in to Moon Magic and Mindfulness with Grace. You can find details of this show everywhere on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And thank you so much. Thank you for the feedback. I love and appreciate you all. If this was helpful and you would like to contribute to our show, you can do so in the link in the description or on the fortune cookie. And of course, you're welcome to send your information and participate. We would love to hear from you. So thank you everyone here in the studio, I should say. Thank you again to our special guest, Wynne. I'm so grateful that we finally made time to have a conversation. And thank you so much. I love you all, and I am looking forward. Thank you. Thank you so much. I will see you all next week. Thank you. Have a good night.